You able to see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Right. Where is? Let me show you an integration which I built. It's this one. This is a very similar one of what? Yes. Right. Okay. This is something interesting and you will love this one. I will share this CLAR with you. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a very simple one, right? But it's related to finance.
Okay.
But concept is the same. I think you can keep this for your future reference, right? And I'll
Okay.
share this CLAR with you. It's a very good CLAR. Okay, so what is this? The requirement is that there will be a file, right, on SFTP. You have to read that file, and that file will have different supplier invoice, right? So it's an invoice which you have to load it into Workday, right? Similar to the requirement which I have given you, like here, there will be a file, and there you will have to read it and load it as applicants, right? Similar kind of stuff. Okay. Also, the requirement is that you need to do an error handling, in the sense, generate a log file of if there is any error for a particular record and all that, right? Now, let me, this was, where is that? Let me miss. Okay. So say this one is like this. So you have supplier ID, you have invoice ID, then you have supplier ID, you have amount, you have company, something like that, right? And
Yeah.
here invoice ID is 1, supplier ID is S1, amount is 22, company is X1. Then again, supplier ID is 1. So an invoice can have multiple lines, right?
Okay.
Right. So a basic concept of an invoice is, in financial word, supplier invoice. Suppose you are purchasing something from a supplier, right? For example, say the supplier is Dell. Now you have bought 10 printers, 20 laptops, right? So
Yeah.
they will send you an invoice where it will have 2 lines. So first line will be printers, quantity 20, total amount this
Yes.
much, and then second line will be something and all that, right? So it's like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then say invoice 2, which is supplier 3 and something like that, right? So when we load into Workday, this is one invoice because the ID is the same, right? Invoice ID is the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means we have to group it. All the invoice which are of same ID should be one invoice, meaning it will have 2 lines, right? If say the next one has 3 lines like this, then it will be an invoice with 3 lines. Yeah. Clear? This is the
Yeah.
concept. Yeah. Okay. Now, how we will do it is, start here. It has any launch parameter, no services, no launch parameter, nothing. Get event documents. This is again the same component which you just did, right?
Okay.
Then you have document iterator. Why? Because there can be multiple files on SFTP, right?
Okay.
Here I have given the variable name as file. So in the copy step, I'm just making my message as
File.
the file. Right. Okay. After that, init variables, right? So this is how I have done here logging. Okay. Error in the beginning when you are started processing, everything is 0. There is 0 error, 0 warning, 0 success. Count is also 0. And p count is just my another variable where everything I am initializing it to 0. Right? I've just created 4 variables.
Okay.
5 variables to do like this. Okay. After that is ML expression, which is a component called validate expression, and you are doing da.size greater than 0. That means if there is no file on SFTP, it will give an error. So this async has a send error component, and it is going to a put integration message. I've just changed the name to handle, to give it the name as handle eval. Right? In this, what I'm saying is, so the way this work is, it executes this. If it is true, then it will go to the next component. If it is false, then this is the error message, meaning this one will become your context.error message. So this failure message, you're overriding it. Okay, and here is this, whatever you will give, it will give that. No files retrieved from SFTP. So here, if I write this like context.error message, what it will give? It will give me no files retrieved from SFTP, and then this message, file not found. Then after that, okay, if it passes that validation, meaning the file is present, it goes to next, where we are doing CSV to XML conversion. Yeah, simple. Yes. Either you give variable or you keep message, doesn't matter, because after this copy step, our message is the file. So it's fine. I'm just logging it. Again, send error is just making it critical error, while this is just a copy paste error, but you can say error while converting into XML. You can say there will be no error here, but just in case if there is an error, you can handle that, right? So these are the errors where right away critical means integration will fail, right? So these are the, because say if there is no file, integration should fail. Yeah, so that's what is happening till now. Okay. Then is next is eval. So eval, here there is this p count variable where what I'm doing it parts of 0.xpath.count of root/row. So this count of root/row tells me how many times row exists. In short, it is telling you how many rows are there. So that's why this count variable is, you are doing the splitter, right? Root/row. So if you are getting 50 files, so 50 is the count of root/row. So that's what it will give. For you, this value will become 50.
Okay.
Right. Then comes ML expression. Again, here I am now checking that this p count should be greater than 0. If it is less than 0, or if it is equal to 0, that means there is no data in the file.
The file is empty. Okay.
Correct. So that's why here it is saying context.error message, which will be this one. No data in the input file. Okay.
Yeah.
Ideally, it should be critical. Because if it is critical, meaning integration will stop then and there. If it is completed with error, if it is completed with error, integration will execute that. Yeah, right. It will give error, but it will move forward. Similarly, if it is warning, it will give a warning, but it will again process the next steps.
So only case, in critical, it
will stop.
Right?
It stops then and there. Yeah. Right. So we'll see that.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
Okay. After that, now it has passed this. That data is there. Now I have XSLT. Now this XSLT step will work on what? What is the input to this XSLT? It's the output of this CSV to XML, right? In your case, Parag, it is that full XML. root and multiple rows you are there, right? So this one will
Yeah.
come here. Now why I am doing it here is because of this scenario. I want to group all into this. So my thing will be, what will happen here is like this. So you have your XML version and blah, 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 right? And then you have root, then you have
row or some like,
right. Where is that? Why is it? Row, and then in the row you will have multiple, right? Say I have invoice ID, then I have, why does it do like this? Supplier, and then amount, and then it will end, right? And after that again there will be another row, right? And this one again will have the same supplier,
Yeah.
and it will have the same invoice ID, but the amount will be different. And yeah, so
Yeah.
there can be multiple rows like this, but what you want is your output should be that XML version, root, and then row. And in this you can have, I will do it like this. I will make it, I can change it here. Supplier, or say invoice. In invoice, there will be some header, right? So if you see here, supplier is common. Yeah. So that one will be in the header, but amount, supplier, and invoice ID both are common, right? For one invoice, there will be one ID and one supplier. But since there will be 2-3 lines, amount can be different. And then there will be other fields which are different, right? So I'll now, if you see here, okay, template match root. Yeah, at the top level, I am matching that root, and then whatever you give here will become your tag. Instead of row, now I'm putting invoices. After that, this is the syntax for each group. Select row group by document number. Document number here is nothing but the invoice number. So if the invoice number match, then it will become one invoice. And in this, I have the batch ID, I have supplier ID, I have date, I have memo, and these are common. So for all the invoices which are having the same number, select this one, and then it will have multiple this, because now it is saying a loop here for each current group, meaning for each document, for each row which is having this document number, have your like cost center, spend category, and the amount. This is a logic. You can forget about this logic, but you can check the syntax. Here I'm checking if and else. It was a business requirement that, okay, if the document type is 1, it is debit amount. If the document type is 5, it is credit, debit, credit, and all that stuff, right? So, but this is how you do grouping. You do a group by which field you have to group, and then for each current group, you can just select.
Do you have like XML for this XSLT?
I doubt, because my thing here is from this one, but I don't have it. It was very long back.
Okay.
But it is simple. It will have root / row, and then different fields, like you have employee ID. Your employee ID here, you can compare it to document number.
Okay.
right? And the other stuff, say for example, in your file, suppose in your file there is thing that each employee will not have one row, it can have multiple rows.
Yeah.
Right? So what you will do is you'll group by employee number.
Employee ID.
And then there will be, and then you're saying your tag will be employee instead of this invoice, it will be employee. Then you will have inside this employee
First
ID,
name, last name.
yeah, employee ID, first name, last name, and then the things which are repeating, which are like distinguishing between that, right? So if say you have 3 rows, in those 3 rows there will be key fields, right? Employee ID is key, first name is key, last name is key, because these 3 will be same. Suppose there are other columns which are like amount, or say the payment, the pay, the salary can vary. So for example, if you're getting it for a quarter, an employee will have 3 rows, for one for March salary, Feb salary, and that one. So those are the 3 things which will be different. So what you'll do is for each select employee ID, the top one are the fixed values, and in this one, these are the things which are changing. So it'll have employee, and then you can put another like employee lines, and inside that you can put your different columns, different tags. That's how it will be. Okay, so now what happens is after this XSLT, what will happen is, suppose before I had 100 rows. Now after this XSLT, my 100 rows will get decreased, right? Suppose in your file, you have 50 rows now, but say some employees will have 2 rows, some will have 3 rows, right? After this XSLT, because it will group them up, your rows will decrease, right? From 50, it will become, might be 30. Yeah. Then I'm doing the splitter. Why I'm doing splitter now is because I know now I have unique invoices per supplier, right? So I have these local outs, call splitter. I do declaration in workspace. It comes here, split. This is again, I'm doing that count here, right? Count of invoices slash invoice. Now it is giving me the count of new XML which got generated after this, right? Here, if you see, I'm doing count of root slash row. So if you consider your file, this will give you 50. But then if you're doing it here after this XSLT, this count will be 30 because it combined all those employees which are having duplicate or multiple rows. Now it is giving me only 30 rows because there were 30 employees. Those 30 were having duplicate rows. So it has now, after the grouping, it has done this. Okay, now there is this splitter, which is now instead of root row, because I have changed my XML. That's why here it is invoices slash invoice. Okay, after that is eval. What eval is doing, because your splitter will give you now each fragment of XML, right? One by one. So now say if there are 30 ones, it will give one by one each. So what I'm doing is now I'm storing my variables. So invoice ID, batch ID, supplier ID, date, description, whatever is there in the XML, I'm just storing them in a variable. Okay. And then now I'm not using this router here, but in your case, it can be. Say if the requirement is, if in your case, consider it to be the employee data, right? So you have all that data, employee ID, first name, last name, date, and employee status, for example, which is active, terminated, or on leave, something like that, right? Now you need, the requirement is if the employee is active, you have to do some updates. If it is terminated, you have to do some another update. If it is on leave, you have to do some other update, right? So there are 3 flows. Then in that case, you will use a router, and you can have this route as MBEL strategy, and you put your props of employee status is equal to A, which is active. Then what should happen? If it is inactive, what should happen? If it is on leave or terminated or whatever. So that's how you do a routing.
Okay.
Got it? So say in this case, I'm not doing. After that, it comes to here, call supplier invoice. What here it is doing is now I have all my variables populated. I am populating the web service. This is the web service, which is from resource management. And it is, let me show you this XSLT. By the way, to open the XSLT, where is it? You click on that XSLT and this one, open the file. You click on that and it will open that code for you. Okay, so the web service is submit supplier invoice. Okay, this is the, in your case,
Terminate or like something.
whatever, hire, terminate, or change something and all that you will use. Now your question should be that we have used write step, right? In write step, you put the web service request and then just update it, the variables there, right? Why do we use XSLT here? Okay, so the reason for that is because in this I needed to do some extra thing. Why? Because for loading an invoice can have multiple lines, right? Some invoice can have 2 lines, some invoice will have 3 lines. Yeah. How will we know? If I put it in a write step, it will be hard coded stuff, right? I don't know should it be 3 lines, because this is the one invoice line part which has to be repeated. So in XSLT, I can do it again by grouping, right? So when you have to use this, you can use this as a reference. Instead of this one, you put your web service, change these tags based on your web service, right? Now here, what is happening different is you have invoice and you have invoice lines. So invoice will have some header constant, right? Like in our case, employee, you have employee ID, which will be constant, meaning unique. First name, last name will be common, but the salary will vary, right? So it is January, Feb, March, and the amount. So in that case, you will do for each select employee line and then populate the other ones like the salary, the month, amount, and all that. So if there are 3 lines, it will populate this 3 times. If it is 2 lines, it will populate it 2 times. So that's when we use XSLT, where we have to do such kind of programming. Okay, once it is populated, it goes to the submit supplier invoice, which is calling the Workday web service. And then if it is success, it goes to this one. If it is failure, meaning say if there is some error, right? Amount is not there or some validation is failing and all that case, it will come back to this, right? It flows back. You know the basic concept. If there is an error, it will start going backwards, right? So if there is an error in submit supplier invoice, it will come here. And in this one, in the advanced, if the handle downstream error is true,
yes,
it will come to send error and it will come here. Now here, what I'm doing is in the eval, I am populating the message and my error, this variable, which was initially declared as 0, I am adding 1 to it. Why? Because I know if something has come from send error, that means it's an error. So I am increasing the error count by 1. So before this, the error props error was having the value as 0. But if say for some invoice, it was in error, it came here, it will become 1. Right? And why it is happening like this is because you have a splitter, right? So if you have 50 invoices, first will come, it will come here, come to call supplier invoice, come here, go. If it is success, it will come here. And then I'm doing a success +1. So meaning if it comes here, it is success. If it goes back, it is error. So by any means, I'm just populating it. Yeah. And then I told you about the cloud log concept, right? So cloud logger is a component which I have put there and I have given the name as cloud log, right? So this is the name. And if you see here also, it's this, oh, sorry, this is the step ID, but cloud log, if you see the variable name here, it is blank, right? Because what it says, default value is cloud-log-content. Yeah. Same is here. Default cloud log. Here also cloud log. Everywhere, wherever it is cloud log. What happens is, wherever you use cloud log and you populate this message, right, with some message, it will keep on appending it. But okay, let me stop here. I don't want to overdo this. But till here, you're clear, right? That after splitter, it is coming. If it is success, our count is getting increased for success. If it is coming back, our error count is getting increased. Yeah.